Imagine crossing the threshold of a mansion built for a railroad titan or a Wall Street baron and feeling a deep hush as the thick oak doors swing closed behind you. A sense of awe overtakes you as your eyes adjust to the dim glow of chandeliers and lamplight. Polished floors reflect carved ceilings and gilded walls, yet somewhere in this opulence lies a mystery. It is not only the dazzling hallways, crystal chandeliers, and priceless art that draw you deeper. It is the promise that behind some seemingly ordinary panel or painting, there may be another world tucked away. Gilded Age estates were monuments to wealth and power, but they were also riddled with hidden passages and secret rooms designed to ensure privacy, efficiency, and sometimes mischief. In this narrative, we wander the halls of America's most powerful estates in search of their hidden doors and the stories they hold, exploring how their owners balanced showmanship with secrecy. Our journey begins in the mountains of North Carolina, where George Washington Vanderbilt carved out a personal kingdom in the Blue Ridge. When the 20-something grandson of railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt toured the French countryside with his mother and fell in love with the chateau of the Loire Valley, he decided to build an American chateau of his own. He purchased thousands of acres near Asheville and enlisted architect Richard Morris Hunt to design a house that would blend Renaissance grandeur with modern convenience. The result was a 175,000 square foot residence with 250 rooms, including dozens of guest bedrooms, an indoor bowling alley, a banquet hall, a library with over 10,000 volumes, and some of the earliest indoor plumbing and electricity. Vanderbilt called it Biltmore, and when he opened its doors in 1895, it stood as the largest privately owned home in the nation. The Gilded Age elite flocked there to attend lavish parties and to marvel at the scale of the estate. But hidden among the grandeur were quiet spaces that only the family and their staff knew about. In the breakfast room, where sunlight streamed through large windows onto delicately set tables, a pair of impressionist paintings by Pierre-Auguste Renoir hung on the wall. Behind them lay a jib door, a seamless panel that hid a servant's entrance. When the butler or footman carried breakfast from the adjacent pantry, they slipped through this camouflaged doorway, so the service appeared almost magical. From the guest's perspective, it seemed as if the meals appeared from thin air, while the staff moved invisibly behind the walls. The secret door ensured that formal meals remained undisturbed by the practicalities of service, reflecting Vanderbilt's desire to create a world where elegance was effortless. Beyond aesthetic considerations, this hidden door allowed servers to observe the dining room without being seen, an arrangement that signaled the separation between the working parts of the house and the grand public rooms. The library, one of the most beloved rooms at Biltmore, holds more secrets. George Vanderbilt's library spanned 2 stories, lined from floor to ceiling with dark-stained bookshelves and a massive fireplace crowned with a carved mantel. Above the room was a balcony containing even more books, connected by a spiral staircase. On this balcony, disguised as part of the bookshelves, was another hidden door. When opened, it provided direct access to the second-floor living hall, where guest bedrooms were located. Late at night, guests could slip from the living hall into the library through this concealed passage, perhaps to borrow a novel or to meet a fellow insomniac among the stacks. This hidden door also allowed servants to replenish the library and deliver letters without crossing the main floor and disturbing conversations below. The library's secret compartment, known simply as the den, was tucked behind a carved figure of St. Peter. It contained a small chamber with comfortable chairs, where Vanderbilt could retreat for private reading. He often disappeared into this hidden nook to spend time with his books, or to hold quiet conversations that he preferred not to conduct in the public rooms. Such a space reveals that even the richest man in the country desired solitude within his palace and devised ways to secure it. Not all of Biltmore's secrets were for leisure. In the Winter Garden, a glass-roofed conservatory that linked the rooms of the first floor, a trap door lay hidden beneath an elaborate arrangement of palm fronds and orchids. On crisp mornings, gardeners would open this trap door and raise or lower potted plants to the basement and then to the adjacent conservatory building through a covered underground passage. This trapdoor allowed the staff to move large palms and exotic blooms without wheeling them through the formal rooms, thus preserving the perfection that guests saw. In George Vanderbilt's bedroom, there was a closet whose panels blended seamlessly with the walnut walls. To the untrained eye, the closet looked like part of the woodwork, but it concealed storage for Vanderbilt's suits, shoes, and important papers, as well as a set of buttons that summoned different servants. The button system allowed him to call for his valet, the butler, or the head housemaid with a touch, ensuring privacy and efficiency. The closet's design, flush with the paneling, prevented guests from glimpsing the utilitarian aspects of his day-to-day life. Throughout the estate, hidden doors connect the billiard room to the smoking room and gun room, so that men could slip away from polite company to indulge in cigars, whiskey, or shooting conversations without passing through the grand hall. These small but significant architectural choices reveal how Biltmore's design balanced the grand performance of wealth with the practical need to control the flow of people and goods. The secret rooms and passages of Biltmore were not unusual for houses of its caliber. They speak to a broader cultural expectation during the Gilded Age that high society should never be inconvenienced by the machinery of domestic life. Servants were to be invisible, women's tasks were to be hidden. Any sign of work or hardship was to be banished behind walls. As we leave the hills of North Carolina behind and head northward, we discover other mansions that took this principle to dramatic extremes. In Newport, Rhode Island, the Vanderbilt family built another palace along the cliffs overlooking the Atlantic. Cornelius Vanderbilt II, known as Niley, wanted a summer home that would surpass all others in grandeur and safety. After a devastating fire destroyed the first breakers in 1892, he commissioned the New York architectural firm of Richard Morris Hunt to design a new mansion that would be as fireproof as possible. The second breakers, completed in 1895, was a 70-room, 138,000-square-foot limestone palace with ornate ceilings, marble columns, and imported panels from French chateaux. Every detail was designed to dazzle, yet hidden beneath its elegant facade lies an underground world of boilers, tunnels, and technological innovation that only recently became part of the public story. Because the previous house had burned, Neely insisted that the new breakers be built with steel beams encased in terracotta to resist flames. The boilers that heated the house were deliberately placed away from the main building and tucked beneath a grassy lawn near the caretaker's cottage. From there, an underground tunnel extended toward the mansion. The corridor was lined with pipes carrying steam and hot water, as well as electrical cables and water lines. Servants used this tunnel to avoid being seen above ground. They would walk from the caretaker's cottage down a narrow stair to the boiler room, then follow the tunnel to the basement to work among the heating and cooling apparatus. The tunnels remained hidden from guests, who saw only the glistening marble floors above. Tour guides who now lead the Beneath the Breakers tour describe how the tunnels reveal the complexity of the hidden infrastructure. Pipes, ducts, and massive boilers that once consumed over 100 tons of coal each year to keep the house warm and the showers and bathtubs flowing with hot water. The underground world also contains the electrical control panels and elevator machinery that allowed the family to enjoy modern conveniences without ever seeing the men and women who operated them. Standing in those tunnels today, you can feel how the hum of machines and the heat of boilers were essential to the comfortable life above, yet remained out of sight. It is a stark reminder that behind every glamorous Gilded Age ballroom were rooms filled with soot and steam, attended by workers whose stories were rarely recorded. From Newport, we traveled to Central Virginia, to the mountaintop home of Thomas Jefferson. Though not a Gilded Age mansion, Monticello's early secrets provide a template for later hidden rooms. Jefferson was obsessed with efficiency and stealth. In his dining room, he installed revolving shelves set into the wall between the dining room and north passage. These shelves, which functioned as a rotating serving door, allowed enslaved workers to place dishes onto them and quietly rotate them into the room. Each time a course was finished, the enslaved servant in the hall would rotate the shelf and remove the plate, then rotate a new dish into view. This mechanism prevented servants from having to enter the room and risk interrupting conversation or exposing themselves to the people they served. Jefferson also designed small dumbwaiters built into the fireplace jambs, which brought bottles of wine from the cellar to the table. These hidden devices created an illusion that dinner appeared by magic, just as the hidden doors in Biltmore and the Breakers did decades later. Monticello's secrets remind us that the boundaries between service and society were policed by architecture itself, a lesson wealthy industrialists would adopt and expand upon. If we head north again and into the borough of Manhattan, we encounter a library that was more than just a house. J.P. Morgan's Library and Study, now the Morgan Library and Museum, began as a private sanctuary for one of the world's most powerful financiers. Morgan commissioned architect Charles McKim to build a Renaissance Revival library with barrel-vaulted ceilings, carved wood, and gilded decorations. But what distinguished the building were the secret passages hidden behind the mahogany bookcases. On the first floor, a pair of brass handles disguised as book spines allowed the librarian to swing open a section of shelving and reveal a hidden staircase. This narrow spiral staircase led to the balconies on the second and third levels, enabling the librarian to move quietly between floors without using the grand staircase in the rotunda. Another door hidden behind the bookcases opened into a deep closet with shelves that could accommodate oversized atlases and portfolios. Inside this closet was a small elevator that could raise and lower heavy volumes to and from the upper floors, thus preventing staff from carrying large, precious books down the library's main stairs. Morgan, who feared theft and fire, constructed his study with a steel-lined vault, concealed behind a paneled wall. The vault had a combination lock and thick steel door, and stored his most priceless manuscripts and rare treasures. Only Morgan and his librarian knew the combination. They also knew about a sliding shelf in Morgan's study that opened to reveal another secret compartment, accessible only from behind a tapestry. When you stand in this room today and look at the gilded ceilings and towering shelves, it is easy to miss the hidden mechanics that allowed Morgan to guard his wealth and knowledge. It also becomes clear that the secret spaces within the library functioned as both physical protection and symbolic barriers between the financier's public persona and his private life. During the first half of the 20th century, secrecy also took on a playful dimension. In Long Island's Gold Coast, a banker named Otto Kahn commissioned French architect Delano and Aldrich to build Oheka Castle, a chateau inspired by those along the Loire. Oheka was completed in 1919 with 127 rooms and 39 fireplaces, covering more than 100,000 square feet. Kahn, a German-born financier who had become a naturalized American, loved theatrics and invited luminaries from Broadway and Hollywood to his parties. The library of Oheka was a vast room with faux bois wooden walls and leaded glass windows. Hidden within one of its bookcases was a secret passage. A panel disguised as a bookcase swung open to reveal a narrow corridor that led to Kahn's private office. In this secret chamber, Kahn's secretary could work away from prying eyes, drafting letters and conducting business while still within earshot of the Grand Library. The passage offered convenience and privacy, shielding the often mundane tasks of a financier from guests' view. After Kahn died in 1934, the estate passed through many hands, including the Merchant Marine Academy and a training school for radio operators. By the time it was revived as a hotel and event space, the secret passage had become a curiosity, a relic of a man who enjoyed playing with perception. Not far from Oheka lies another palatial residence with a labyrinth of secrets. Lynwood Hall in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, was built for trolley magnate Peter A. B. Widener in 1899. Designed by architect Horace Trumbauer, the 110-room limestone palace was as imposing as any European chateau. Widener amassed a fortune through investments in streetcar lines, tobacco, steel, and oil. His home boasted a mammoth art collection that included works by Rembrandt and Raphael. Yet the most fascinating features of the house lay hidden behind the walls. Between the first and second floors, behind the butler's pantry, there was a concealed room filled with safes. Accessible through a door hidden in the paneling, this room did not appear on any official floor plans. It likely contained the family's silver, jewels, and documents. On the ground floor, secret doors disguised as mirrors or bookcases opened to reveal marble-clad bathrooms. Visitors walking through the smoking room might lean against a set of false book spines and find themselves in a hidden washroom. The house also possessed a network of underground tunnels that extended from the main building to the central fountain and outbuildings. Manhole covers in the garden hint at the extent of these passages, which were used by staff to move coal, ash, and supplies without crossing the grand lawns. After the Widener family suffered tragedy, Widener's eldest son and grandson died aboard the Titanic, and after the Great Depression, the house fell into disrepair. Urban explorers who sneaked in during its abandonment reported secret staircases and hidden compartments that had been forgotten. Preservationists working to save the building have uncovered these hidden features and now use them to tell a broader story about wealth, secrecy, and loss. Moving south to Palm Beach, we encounter the winter retreat of Henry Morrison Flagler, the oil and railroad magnate whose vision created modern Florida. He built Whitehall as a wedding gift to his third wife, Mary Lilly, in 1902. The 75-room residence was more than a home. It was a statement that the tropics could be tamed. Beneath the marble floors and soaring columns lay a full basement, a rarity in South Florida, where the sandy soil and high water table made such construction difficult. The basement contained the plumbing, heating ducts, and mechanical systems necessary to run the house. Flagler's engineers designed the heating system not to warm the rooms, but to dry the humid air, protecting the wood paneling and fabrics from mold. Although the basement was not a secret room in the sense of a hidden closet, it was an unseen world that allowed the house to function in a hostile climate. Like the underground tunnel at the breakers, Whitehall's basement kept the machinery of comfort out of view, preserving the illusion that life inside was effortless. We cannot speak of hidden spaces without considering the need for discreet indulgence. During Prohibition, it became fashionable for wealthy households to install hidden bars and secret cellars. Miami, where James Deering built Vizcaya, was in a dry county when the palatial villa was completed in 1916. Deering, a Chicago industrialist, entertained friends from around the country at his waterfront winter home. In his house, false doors and symmetrical design elements allowed for secret compartments. Local historians suspect that some of the doors and passages were used to store alcohol during the years when liquor was illegal. The estate's curators explain that hidden doors were also used for design reasons. Symmetry sometimes required a door on one side of a room that did not lead anywhere or concealed a practical doorway. The interplay between aesthetics and secrecy created a warren of false doorways that confound visitors to this day. The museum even offers a video series that reveals how some of these hidden doors function. While we cannot wander down these passages ourselves, we can imagine Deering and his guests slipping away to enjoy a sip of rum while the rest of Miami remained dry. Returning to the industrial north, we come across the home of Andrew Carnegie, whose Fifth Avenue mansion was built in 1902 with walls of Indiana limestone and a steel frame, one of the first private homes in America to be built with modern fireproof construction. Carnegie insisted on modern technology. The house had both an elevator and central heating. While there is no widely publicized secret passage in the Carnegie Mansion, the building contained servant staircases and hidden corridors that allowed staff to move between floors without passing through the family's rooms. Such features were typical of the period, designed to maintain the invisibility of labor. Today, the mansion houses the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum, and the servant spaces have been repurposed for offices and galleries. Their presence stands as a reminder of the social hierarchies embodied in architecture. The motif of hiding labor continues with the grand estates of Newport and New York. When Caroline Schermerhorn Astor ruled New York society, she famously limited her guest list to what she called the 400, the number of people who could fit into her ballroom. Her house at 34th Street had a ballroom for 400. But when her son John Jacob Astor IV decided to build an even larger house uptown at 840 Fifth Avenue, he created a ballroom that could hold 1,200 guests. Yet behind the mirrored walls and satin-paneled doors of that ballroom were narrow passages and staircases for staff. A small door near the massive carved fireplace in the dining room led to a service corridor that connected the butler's pantry and kitchen. Guests never had to watch footmen carrying trays of turtle soup or silver tureens. The only hint of work came when a footman appeared silently from behind a velvet curtain. When John Jacob Astor IV perished aboard the Titanic in 1912, his widow and son sold the mansion, and it was demolished to make way for a synagogue. The secret passages were lost, but contemporary descriptions emphasize how thoroughly the building separated servants from the social life of the family. Across town, in a library built by another titan, we find more hidden features that speak to obsession with order and control. The New York Public Library's main branch on Fifth Avenue was built in 1897 to 1911 to house the Astor, Lenox, and Tilden book collections. Within the reading rooms and stacks, several doors appear to be decorative panels, but actually lead to maintenance corridors and storage vaults. Underneath the main reading room is a vast, multi-level stack area that holds millions of volumes. The stacks are accessible via hidden elevator shafts and narrow staircases that staff use to retrieve books requested by readers above. These features may not be as romantic as a secret passage behind a bookshelf, but they reveal how large institutions borrowed the hidden logic of Gilded Age homes. To maintain the illusion of ease, one must build invisible worlds beneath and behind. Back in Newport, another mansion holds secret delights of a more artistic nature. Marble House, built for William K. Vanderbilt and his wife Alva between 1888 and 1892, cost millions to construct and was decorated with 500,000 cubic feet of marble. Alva, a suffragist and social climber, insisted on a Chinese tea house perched above the cliffs, accessible by a private path. While the primary house does not advertise secret rooms, the estate's design includes jib doors that seamlessly blend into the marble walls, leading to service areas and back staircases. Alva's desire for perfection extended to the design of the Great Hall, where hinged panels allowed doors to vanish into the plasterwork. The long gallery had hidden alcoves behind tapestries where musicians could wait to strike up a waltz at a moment's notice. For Alva, controlling the flow of people through secret doorways meant controlling the pace and spectacle of her parties, ensuring that her guests experienced only what she intended. Our exploration would be incomplete without returning to George Vanderbilt's hidden spaces one last time. In the basement of Biltmore, beneath the banquet hall and bowling alley, lies a world that few guests ever see. There are kitchens, pastry rooms, refrigerated storerooms, laundry facilities, and servant dining rooms. A long, narrow corridor runs the length of the house, lined with bells connected to the rooms above. Each bell was labeled with the name of the room it served. When a family member or guest pulled a cord in their room, the corresponding bell would ring. Staff used this corridor to move quickly to whichever room required attention. Near the end of the corridor stands the entrance to the servants' dining hall, where footmen, maids, housekeepers, and grooms ate meals separate from the family. Their world was as regimented and hierarchical as the one above, but hidden in plain sight. Another door off this corridor leads to an underground tunnel that runs toward the dairy and stables, allowing laundry and supplies to be transported without passing through public view. Standing there, one can imagine the constant motion that kept the house functioning while the Vanderbilts and their guests lingered over dessert and port. Across these estates, secrecy served many purposes. Hidden safes and vaults preserved jewelry, silver, and personal papers from theft and fire. A steel-lined vault in a financier's library protected illuminated manuscripts and confidential letters. Locked behind a panel only the owner and his librarian could open. In a trolley magnate's mansion, an armored chamber sat behind the butler's pantry, its location unknown to casual visitors. Private closets disguised as paneling allowed homeowners to store valuables and call for their servants at the press of a button. Hidden bathrooms and powder rooms ensured that bodily functions never intruded on the social performance unfolding in ballrooms and salons. Elsewhere, secret wine cellars and locked compartments concealed bottles during the dry years of Prohibition, allowing families to toast away from prying eyes. These spaces reveal a constant tension between the desire to display wealth and the need to protect it, between the urge to socialize and the wish to retreat. The idea of a secret room has since captivated the public imagination. Board games and mystery novels invite readers to guess which secret passage leads to the study. Films and television shows feature protagonists pulling candlesticks to reveal rotating bookcases, a trope inspired by houses like these. Children playing hide-and-seek fantasize about wardrobes that open into magical worlds, while adults install hidden closets or panic rooms in their own homes. Architects in the 20th century drew on the Gilded Age's love of hidden spaces when they designed modern homes with built-in safes and concealed bars. The fascination reflects something universal: a longing for privacy amid spectacle, a need for surprise in a world of order, a thrill at the thought that within a familiar environment lies another realm waiting to be discovered. When we tour the secret rooms of America's Gilded Age estates, we are tapping into that age-old curiosity, exploring not just the past, but the corners of our own imaginations. The hidden passages in these estates were not solely about maintaining appearances. Sometimes they reflected the darker side of wealth. At Lynwood Hall, the room of safes suggests a fear of theft or financial insecurity, even for a man who could buy anything he wanted. For the Widener family, secrecy also became a form of mourning. After losing family members on the Titanic, the mansion remained largely empty and darkened. Urban explorers who later trespassed into the decaying house reported a sense of sorrow lingering in the hidden rooms. Similarly, at the Morgan Library, the steel vault behind J.P., Morgan's study hints at the paranoia that accompanies immense fortune. Morgan's vault held not only manuscripts, but also personal letters and perhaps financial records he wished to keep hidden from his partners and family. Wealth insulated these men from many worries, but it did not free them from fear of loss or scandal. Architecture became a shield, and secret rooms were the ultimate barrier. Secret spaces could also be a source of whimsy. At Oheka Castle, Otto Kahn installed a tunnel from the basement to the gardens so that he could smoke cigars outdoors during the winter without walking through the front hall and leaving the smell behind. He reportedly delighted in showing this tunnel to his friends, treating it as a novelty. At Vizcaya, one of the hidden doors leads to a small spiral staircase ascending to a music room tucked within a tower. Guests climbing the stairs emerged in a surprising space with a piano and a view of Biscayne Bay. The surprise itself was part of the experience, a testament to the owner's playful personality. These examples show that not all secrets were about function. Some were about delighting or surprising the occupants. The desire to hide and reveal also extended to the guests themselves. Many of these mansions included alcoves where couples could whisper or exchange letters unseen by chaperones. At Biltmore, the second-floor living hall served as an informal sitting room for guests. Off its corridor, a small door disguised as part of the wainscoting opened into a narrow stair leading to the basement and service areas. Guests could use this staircase to sneak down to the kitchen for a late-night snack or to meet a lover without crossing the main hall. At the breakers, a door hidden behind the grand staircase led to a mezzanine from which one could observe the ballroom below without being seen. It allowed shy or curious guests to watch dances and conversations without joining in. These subtle secrets reveal a social world where appearances mattered, but where individuals sought small freedoms within the rigid codes of decorum. We also find secret compartments in the furnishing of these homes. At Monticello, the table in the entrance hall had a hidden drawer where Jefferson stored his drafting tools and letters. At Marble House, the gilded salon contained cabinets disguised as columns, which Alva used to store her board games and political pamphlets, advocating for women's suffrage. At Biltmore, some of the massive sideboards in the dining room contained hidden drawers lined with velvet where silver flatware was stored, protected from tarnish and theft. The desire to hide valuables or personal items within furniture was practical, but it also fostered an atmosphere of mystery. Knowing that every room contained hidden compartments invites a sense of wonder in visitors who wander through these spaces today. As we stitch these stories together, patterns emerge. The Gilded Age elite used secret rooms to maintain strict social hierarchies, preserve privacy, protect valuables, and sometimes circumvent the law. The architects who designed these homes were skilled at creating hidden spaces. They used jib doors flush with the walls, sliding panels disguised as bookshelves, trapdoors hidden by potted palms, and tunnels buried beneath lawns. These secrets allowed homes to function like machines, with separate circuits for display and for maintenance. At the same time, the hidden spaces reveal the anxieties of their owners: fear of fire, theft, scandal, or intrusion. They also reveal a playful side, a delight in surprise and novelty that belies the seriousness of the people who built them. Perhaps the most poignant lesson lies in what happened after the parties ended. Many of the Gilded Age mansions fell into decline as fortunes waned and heirs lacked interest in maintaining such vast estates. The secret rooms were sealed off, their purposes forgotten. In some cases, they were rediscovered decades later by preservationists or curious trespassers who marveled at the ingenuity of their construction. Biltmore, which remains in Vanderbilt family hands, now invites visitors to tour the hidden doors. The Breakers has opened its underground tunnel as part of a guided experience. Lynwood Hall is slowly being restored, and its hidden rooms may one day be open to the public. Oheka Castle operates as a hotel and event venue, and guests sometimes ask about the secret passage behind the bookshelf. The Morgan Library welcomes visitors to explore the stacks and learn about the hidden elevators. Even at Monticello, interpreters demonstrate the revolving serving door and dumbwaiters to show how enslaved people invisibly powered Jefferson's world. These tours remind us that behind the gilding and marble were networks of labor and technology that made the opulence possible. As we conclude our wander through the secret rooms of America's Gilded Age estates, it is worth reflecting on the motivations behind them. Wealthy families built these homes to broadcast their status, but they also sought to create havens from the public eye. The secret rooms served as stage machinery for the performance of leisure and authority. They allowed the show to go on without revealing the backstage. They provided spaces for private contemplation, illicit enjoyment, or quiet mischief. They also stand as metaphors for the era itself, a period of ostentatious display overlaying complex systems of exploitation and innovation. Walking through the gilded salons and down into the hidden tunnels, we gain a fuller understanding of the period, one that acknowledges both the beauty and the inequalities of the age. The hidden doors and secret passages may have been designed to conceal, but today they reveal the stories that bind architecture, technology, and social history into one intricate tapestry. The hidden architecture also tells a story about the people who lived and worked in these houses. In the public rooms, guests moved gracefully under chandeliers. But beyond the jib doors, the servants were hustling on narrow staircases. A house like Biltmore employed dozens of maids who rose before dawn to light fires, empty chamber pots, polish silver, and iron clothing. They carried stacks of dishes through concealed doors to the pantry, sometimes listening through the panels to judge when to enter with the next course. The butler orchestrated this invisible ballet, monitoring the ringing of bells and the timing of courses. In the laundry rooms, washerwomen scrubbed sheets in giant vats. Near the kitchen, a dumbwaiter shaft carried food to the bedrooms so that breakfast in bed could appear with a knock and a smile. The secret rooms and passages were not only about hiding servants from sight, they were about creating an entire ecosystem that supported the comfortable lives of the wealthy. By exploring these hidden spaces, we give voice to the workers whose labor remains etched into the grooves of worn stone steps and the smudged paint of backstair banisters. In looking back on the secret rooms and passages of America's Gilded Age, we uncover not just physical spaces, but also the social networks and cultural attitudes that produced them. We see how architecture can enforce boundaries and how those boundaries can be negotiated through hidden doors. We hear whispers of servants who cooked, laundered, and cleaned without ever appearing in the photographs of grand ballrooms. We sense the anxieties of tycoons who locked away their treasures and the playfulness of hosts who delighted in surprising guests with a hidden music room or a tunnel to a garden. The mystery of these spaces invites us to imagine what it would have been like to live within them, to know which painting pivoted open, which statue concealed a latch, and which bookshelf hid a staircase. In doing so, we gain a richer, more nuanced understanding of the Gilded Age and its paradoxes. Perhaps the greatest secret is that, despite their wealth, the owners of these estates were not immune to the vulnerabilities of life. Fires, shipwrecks, economic crashes, and personal scandals stripped away fortunes and forced families to abandon their palaces. The hidden rooms sometimes became repositories of grief, filled with unsold art and unread books. When we walk through a hidden tunnel under the breakers or stand in the den at Biltmore, we might catch an echo of laughter or a sigh. These spaces are haunted not by ghosts, but by the echo of lives lived with great privilege and also great loss. To uncover the secret rooms inside America's most powerful Gilded Age estates is to peer behind the curtain of history and to see people as they really were, vulnerable, inventive, proud, and human.